started to come to a close. My brother Alan said, "Glenn."
It wasn't supposed to be the moment everyone talked about. Not at a funeral. But sometimes, the most powerful moments aren't planned. And at the farewell for Alan Osmond, one unexpected scene quietly unfolded, one that left those present emotional and later had people watching the footage replay it again and again. The service itself was held in a setting that reflected Alan Osmond's life, faith-centered, family-driven, and filled with music. From the beginning, it was clear this wasn't just about loss. It was about legacy. Family members, close friends, and longtime admirers gathered to honor a man who had spent decades not just performing, but inspiring others through his resilience, especially during his long battle with multiple sclerosis. And that context made everything feel heavier. The ceremony began with soft hymns and instrumental music, pieces that had personal meaning to Alan. A large portrait stood at the front, showing him in his younger years, smiling, full of life. But even in that still image, you could feel the story behind it. Tributes followed. Stories of his early days with the Osmonds, memories of life on stage, and reflections on the strength he showed in his later years when health challenges could have taken everything, but didn't. And then came the moment no one expected. As the service continued, one of Alan's brothers stepped forward, his voice steady at first but clearly emotional. He began sharing a story from their early years, something light, almost humorous. The room softened. People smiled. For a brief moment, the weight lifted. But halfway through the story, something changed. His voice paused. Not dramatically, just stopped. And for a few seconds, he stood there in silence, trying to continue, but unable to. It wasn't rehearsed. It wasn't planned. It was real. Someone from the family quietly stepped closer, placing a hand on his shoulder. No words were exchanged, but the gesture said everything. Support, understanding, shared grief. And that's when it happened. The room filled with people remained completely silent. No movement, no whispers, just presence. Because in that moment, everyone felt it. This wasn't just a tribute anymore. It was a family experiencing loss in real time. Eventually, he gathered himself and continued, but the tone had shifted. The story he was telling became less about memory and more about meaning, about brotherhood, about years spent together, about a bond that didn't end here. That moment, captured on camera by attendees, later became the part people couldn't stop talking about. Not because it was shocking, but because it was honest. But that wasn't the only emotional moment. Later in the service, music once again took center stage. A family performance, simple, not overproduced, filled the room. Voices that had once been heard on global stages now sounded different. Softer, more personal. And in that performance, there was something deeper than sound. There was connection. Because for the Osmond family, music was never just a career. It was how they communicated, how they stayed together, how they processed moments like this. And as they sang, many in the audience were visibly emotional. Not just because of the loss, but because of what the music represented. Toward the end of the service, a video tribute was shown, clips from Alan's life, both public and private. Performances, family gatherings, moments that never made headlines. And then in the final seconds, a simple clip appeared. Alan speaking softly about faith, about perseverance, about not giving up, even when life becomes difficult. His voice, calm, certain, and as it played, the room once again fell silent. because hearing him speak, knowing he was gone, created a moment that words couldn't match. That was the second moment people later described as unbelievable. Not because it was unexpected, but because of how it felt. As the service came to a close, there were no dramatic conclusions, no overwhelming gestures, just quiet embraces, tears, and conversations spoken in low voices. Because that's what real grief looks like. What happened at Alan Osmond's funeral wasn't about spectacle. It wasn't about something shocking. It was about something much simpler. A brother unable to finish a sentence. A family supporting each other without words. A room full of people sharing a moment of silence that said everything. And sometimes, that's more powerful than anything planned. Because in the end, what people remember isn't always what's said. It's what's felt. And that moment was felt by everyone.